Where do new Bitcoins come from? What even is a Bitcoin miner? Here's one. I'm gonna take this thing apart and show you what it is while trying to explain what it does. Now, I could be wrong, but I believe that what you're looking at right now is the only existing footage on this planet of a guy tossing an S19j Pro up and down, shot in 4K at 120 frames per second. It's not every day you get to see something completely one of a kind on YouTube, so there you go. The basic construction of a Bitcoin miner is just that. It's pretty basic. There's no screen, there's no interface at all, and actually the only button on the whole machine is this one button you'll probably never push. It's a button to identify the IP address of a particular machine if you're standing in front of like a wall of them. This currently $3,500 machine is a computer though. However, it is in its nature to do just one thing, and that is dig up Bitcoins. To use it, you literally just plug in the power down here and the internet up here. Then you access the brains from a different computer on the same network. You type in some account information from your mining pool and it just starts going. If you were to shut it off and move it somewhere else, you just plug in the power and the internet and it'll start working again. You don't have to reconfigure, you don't have to do anything. There isn't even a switch, like an on-off switch on most of these machines. Under this top metal square is the control board. If this machine was a beehive, this is the queen, storing data about the location of their honey and giving the worker bees their marching orders. There are a few different types of control boards for the S19. Some of them come with a micro SD slot and some of them don't. This one doesn't have it, and that means I cannot overclock this miner or run it on custom firmware, which would be helpful if I wanted to swap out these really noisy fans for a bigger, quieter fan, something I do. If I was gonna do that, I would need to spoof the fans, put a little microchip in these slots where the fans plug into the control board. At the warehouse, that's actually how this one runs, with those spoofers. When it does run, which unfortunately it does not right now, because at 14 cents per kilowatt hour, it costs more to run than it makes. So it makes more financial sense right now to just buy Bitcoin and give this thing a rest until the price of Bitcoin comes back up. Moving around to the side, this larger metal square is the PSU, the power supply unit. This one is an APW12. The purpose of this thing is to take the electricity that you're giving it from the wall. In this case, that's 240 volts at 60 hertz, or 208 volts if you're at the warehouse. Commercial settings have different power ratings for whatever reason. Other countries use different voltages. England uses 230 volts. China uses 220. Both of them at 50 hertz instead of 60 like we use here. The hertz rating is how many cycles per second the power is changing its direction of flow. These power supplies do the job of taking whatever you give it, anywhere between 200 and 240 volts at between 47 and 63 hertz. So this thing will take whatever power you give it and it'll run it through all of these little gizmos inside here, which you can never touch. Do not ever touch the inside of one of these. Treat the inside of this box like a gun that's always loaded. In fact, don't ever open this box. A guy named Mark from asic.to or the Vanish software might reach out to you and send you a bunch of these little transistors saying that if you solder them in here in just the right way, you can make this thing crank out even more power. A lot of these components will hold on to power for a long time. There's capacitors in here. And if you touch anything shortly after it's been powered, you can just become electrocuted and die. So just don't do it. You can literally die. Anyway, this thing takes all that dirty international power and it spits out between 12 and 15 volts at a hefty 300 amps. Isn't that interesting? Your Bitcoin miner actually runs on the same voltage as your car. Most parts of it in here are about the same. Most of it's running on about the same voltage as your car. I'm simplifying here. Your control board doesn't just have conversations with the main computer in here, it talks with the PSU also. When you're doing overclocks, it's this little fella that's talking to all these little dudes, telling them to push out a higher voltage through the bus bars. It's these thick metal bars that carry all of the power over from the PSU into the business side of your Bitcoin miner. Following the bus bars will take us out of the PSU and into the main body of your S19, where we're gonna find the hash boards. It's gonna take me a second to get in there. Let's speed up the tape. These unassuming little party pizza sized computer wafers are where all the work gets done. These PCBs have fueled a full year of 5-digit losses of my other forms of crypto gambling. Underneath these heat sinks, there are 126 ASIC chips on each one of these boards, and there's 3 of these boards inside the miner. That means this machine has 378 processors, each running at about 600 megahertz. That's 600 million cycles per second per chip. And that's the whole construction of a Bitcoin miner. The power supply unit, which takes whatever power you give it, turns it into 12 volts. The control board, which is kind of the brains, sort of. It's the quarterback. And then these hash boards that do all the hard work. The price of Bitcoin is now low enough, and the difficulty in the network is now high enough that anyone with an electricity cost above about 9 cents per kilowatt hour is no longer profitable. It's bonkers. It's not just Bitcoin, it's kind of everything. All crypto, almost all stocks, the price of gold, all of it. But, and I've talked about this a couple of times before, one investment that has managed to keep its value and even make gains in the last year is art. The market has gotten so crazy that there was a single day in the last month where 99% of all stocks lost value. As a result, Goldman Sachs says that portfolios need to be fixed, rebalanced, and that the ideal allocation for stocks has shrunk from 60% to 45%. So what do they recommend you do with that difference in order to salvage your returns? Goldman thinks you should invest in real assets, like art. And there's data from Morgan Stanley that backs this point up. Entirely disassembled S19j Pro, by the way. They report that the average piece of fine art is selling for 26% more at auction compared to this time last year. And that's through the turbulence of the better part of 2022, when the S&P 500 lost 20.6%, over $9 trillion. The difference is surprising and really exciting for investors who want to recoup some of their losses. So, how do you invest in art yourself without spending millions of dollars? With Masterworks. Masterworks lets you invest in multi-million-dollar works of art from legendary artists like Picasso, Basquiat, and Banksy. And these are not NFTs. You'll be owning the real chunks of the real pieces of art. Their team of world-class analysts uses proprietary data compiled from millions of auction records to source art with the greatest potential for appreciation. Then they divide these paintings into shares so that you can invest without needing millions of dollars. After that, they just wait for the most opportune time to sell, so they'll never sell at a loss, all to get you the best results. Well, all to get everybody the best results. Clearly they're taking a chunk too. For instance, just 3 weeks ago at the start of October 2022, there was an exit for a 21.5% return. I don't think anything else made a 21.5% return this year. As a result of this, Masterworks has had to acquire and release more artwork on their platform to meet demand, and there's a wait list. But you can skip the list by clicking the link in the top of the description below. Doing this will help my channel, and it'll make you money. How's that for a sales pitch? You may be under the impression that these Bitcoin mining machines are solving very complex math equations in a race to be the first computer to unearth the next block of Bitcoins. I might even be the one that told you something that sounds a little bit like that. Depending on what level of math you ever made it to in school, the equations it's solving in reality aren't that complicated at all. They just take a shitload of tries. Every 10 minutes or so, a new block starts. Data from the previous block is added to the next block, and there is a cryptographic function that needs to be verified. In that moment, thousands of machines just like this one all around the world get to work essentially guessing at what's called a nonce, the correct value that, when applied to the hash, will verify the block and give that miner the privilege of being the one to package it up and send it off to a node, while receiving a reward for its hard work. The nature of its work is to verify the legitimacy of Bitcoin transactions. To simplify this further, even though what I just said was like a 5-page paper reduced down to one paragraph, basically Bitcoin miners do the work of auditors, and what they're doing is brute force guessing at a number until they unlock a prize. And in the case of this little supercomputer, it can run at a speed of 100 trillion guesses per second. Now I know we humans don't have a grip on just how big a number a trillion is, so I'm gonna try to use perspective. Imagine all the people that are living now, 8 billion people. Now imagine all the people who have ever existed on this planet. Turns out that number is somewhere around 117 billion people. This machine can assign a number to every person who has ever existed in all of time, and it can do that 1,000 times every second. Maybe that wasn't clear. If you got a job that paid you $1,000 an hour and they let you work for 24 hours a day, what a job. It would take you 11.5 million years before you had $100 trillion. That's how big 100 trillion is. 100 trillion operations per second. The total number of guesses on average that it takes to make the next block on the Bitcoin network is currently measured in the hundreds of quadrillions, another order of magnitude larger. Just for the sake of conversation, the difference between a trillion and a quadrillion is about a quadrillion. Because of all that calculation, this S19j Pro requires a whole lot of electricity and therefore produces a whole lot of heat. This one, which is technically still in the current generation of machines, although it's like 30 to 50% slower than the newest version of the S19, this little guy requires 3,000 watts of power at 240 volts. If you've got, let's say a 1,200 square foot house with central air conditioning, this little box will pull about the same amount of electricity as your whole house AC when it's running, except this thing runs 24 hours a day. Well, not right now. At my house, that's about $260 of electricity per machine per month to run. The stock fans that come on either side of this thing run at just about 6,000 RPMs, and the sound they make is pretty awful. As a result of that, and the heat thing, we enterprising at-home Bitcoin miners try all sorts of things to shut them up and cool them off. We will dunk them into this special fluid that can't transmit an electrical arc, and then pump that fluid out of a tank and into a radiator to try to cool it down and back into the tank again, over and over and over. We sometimes shove them into these specially designed acoustic boxes, which allow proper airflow but somehow still knock out the high-pitched sound from those little fans. Or in this case, we modify the original design with larger, quieter, more powerful fans, in a way that allows you to hook up a pipe to it and double as a furnace in the wintertime. Double duty. Speaking of which, if you're looking to buy some of these things to heat your house for free this winter, I've got a link in the description for where you can buy them. American company, I know them, very safe. What was the original question?